Well, good Monday, Labor Day, everybody, and welcome in to the LA Sparks 365 Network, your 24/7, 365 comprehensive home of the WNBA and your two-time WNBA champion Los Angeles Sparks. And welcome in, folks, to WNBA 365 here for Labor Day, Monday, September the 1st, 2014. Of course, alongside Chris Woodmansee at the Aaron Hart Studios up in Anaheim, California, via Apple's FaceTime. Callan McClurg joining you folks here from Studio 171 in San Diego. Chris, good evening, man. How's it going tonight?
Nothing much, just hanging here, watching some videos, getting excited for Disneyland, California Screaming.
All right, we'll get to that, Chris, a bit later in this program. But, Chris, we open up with a very, very special announcement for you folks. Now, we know that we are in the process of Phase 2 of our network expansion to the off-season programming. But, Chris, this has been in the works for a bit longer than I thought, because I figured if you didn't do this on YouTube, we would do this somewhere else with this network, Chris. But right now, man, we are in the process, folks, of now acquiring the rights to a third phase of our network expansion, folks, which will be YouTube for one, which was the groundbreaking here. Phase 1 was, of course, our main three shows of Sparks 365, Sparks Fam, and the Guides of the Petition. Phase 2 was our in-season programming with the Fabulous Form, Buzzer Beater, LA, the W, and other things included with that phase. And actually, I should say Phase 1 was was more so all the expansion with the season programming. Phase 2 was the on-season programming. And, Chris, Phase 3 now, man, as we go from expanding programming, Chris, to another alternate place to broadcast for the network, folks. We have officially, folks, gained the rights to a online radio station to broadcast as well here for the Sparks 365 Network here, folks, on blogtalkradio.com. We have already launched our station on blogtalkradio.com. We will have more details about that. But, Chris, I figured this out, Chris, that, you know, it's one deal that we can be on Google Hangouts here live on the channel, Chris, but, Chris, the best part about Blog Talk Radio, Chris, is we can have fans call into our shows. You guys can use your cell phones, dial up our number, and you guys can call into the program on blogtalkradio.com. So, Chris, we're expanding it one more time, Chris, but now, Chris, we have a video feed, and, Chris, starting later tonight, we will have a radio feed as well, Chris. So your thoughts about Phase 3 now, Chris, which is going from video now, Chris, to the online radio airwaves. What do you think, dude?
Sounds pretty awesome.
So again, folks, we'll have the link for you folks to the BTR or blogtalkradio.com website for the network shortly. Now, folks, the best part about this is the best part about using BTR, folks, is since it's not connected with anyone specifically, it's the network, folks. The best part about this is that there can be one day where I can host the show, but the better part, though, folks, is if I can't make the show or if I'm busy one day. And Chris, you brought this up to me back in May when I was really busy working for the San Diego Sockers here, of trying to do a show, and I said if you wanted to, you could try to doing it live. But Chris, the best part, though, man, is if I can't make a show, Chris, I can give you the phone number to call into, and, Chris, you can host the show yourself, too. So, Chris, this also allows you to be a host as well, more so than just being my psychic all the time, Chris. So, your thoughts about Phase 3, Chris, and is this better than Phases 1 and 2 right now?
Sounds pretty cool, because if you're busy, something that can host the show, I could just host the show by myself.
And folks, by the way, though, we will only be able to do one show a night on BTR because of our free package. We're going to do one show a night, so we will do that at a later time and date. But folks, we will have our first live show on BTR after this one wraps up tonight. So, Chris, we got through the special announcement, Chris. Now let's get down to some Q&A real quick here. We have again, Chris, another loaded Q&A bar here tonight, Chris. So. A first question, Chris, coming in here to the network, the viewer asked, with this being Phase 3 of the expansion of the network, how much more will the network expand? Chris, I think we have expanded it too much and too quickly, so I think, Chris, we're going to take a break here after Phase 3. And Chris, I mean, I really don't know what else we can do to expand the brand here, Chris. I know that Sue Favor of Hoopism is going to put our links to the Twitter feed and our website and our channel on her next blog post on hoopism.com. But, Chris, I think after Phase 3 we'll have a bit of a break here to stop expanding. But, Chris, is it good, though, man, that we've had so much expansion so quickly here through now, Chris, going into our 7th month here on YouTube right now? Is it a little too much expansion, too little, or just about right now for where we should be 7 months into the year?
Pretty much seems about right. With been 7 months into the show, just seems about right.
Now, Chris, one more question here to get to about the network here. And again, folks, if you've missed our announcement here, folks, we have agreed to terms here to do a radio feed as well here of the network on Blog Talk Radio. Chris, this last question about the expansion, someone asks, how will the network juggle the schedule between the YouTube channel and the radio feed? Chris, I think what we're going to do here, more than likely, is we'll have 1 to 2 shows here on the channel itself. So, Chris, what we're going to do, man, is we're probably going to move the Fabulous Forum over to the BTR feed, Chris, because that way we can have more input from people on the calling in on our line. And, folks, we'll give you folks the guest number to call into during the show here. But, Chris, I think Chris, we're going to give it both equal time here, Chris. Like what we're going to do, Chris, with the Lakers and Sparks Network when the Lakers season starts in October, is we're going to give it equal love, equal treatment, Chris. But I think we're probably going to move one show, I think, off the channel to the other feed, Chris. But I think we're going to be able to juggle it out just right, Chris. And, Chris, if we can juggle out doing the Lakers and Sparks over the basketball season, I think we'll be fine. But I think we'll be fine here with this. But, again, we will be juggling it maybe minor a bit with just moving one show over. All right, Chris, now as we get down to business here, again, we had another phenomenal Game 2 here in the WNBA postseason on the east side of the spectrum today. The Chicago Sky in double overtime hang on to beat the Indiana Fever 86-84. Chris, the turning point of the game, Tamara Young with a big rebound and putback with a second on the regulation clock to avoid the sweep. It goes an extra 10 minutes, and the Sky pull it out 86-84. Now, Chris, I know that you're the victim of a flopped and busted WNBA playoff bracket where I have been 2 for 2 in keeping series alive, Chris, because like last night, I said I give Chicago Game 2 in Illinois 2-0 in those games. But, Chris, a turning point, man, that we knew, though, Chris, that the Fever were vulnerable, Chris, as we get to the line score real quick here, folks. Indiana 18, 21, 13, and 19, 1 through 4, 8 and 5 in the 2 overtime sessions. For the Sky, 16 and 15, 1 through 2, 17 and 23, 3 through 4, 8 and 7 through those 2 games, through those 2 periods. Chris, this was a talking point with myself and Shorty and Crystal in the afternoon, Chris, that it's been a broken record about the Fever, Chris, as them blowing these big leads, man. And I told them flat out that, they blew a 13-point lead against the Sparks in Indiana, blew an 8-point first half lead against them in Los Angeles. And, Chris, if it's not Tamara Young saving the Chicago Sky season, it would have been a sweep, and Shorty Mamba would have been right about the Fever sweep. But, Chris, your thoughts, though, about seeing another Game 3 in the WNBA Conference Finals on Wednesday night? Your thoughts about seeing another Game 3 in the WNBA Eastern Conference Finals?
Seems pretty great to see another Game 3 in the WNBA, to see who makes it to the WNBA Finals, and give you a great Game 3 in both the West and the East.
Chris, as we go to the box score real quick here for the Fever, Shavante Zellos is the leader tonight, 20 points for her. Erlina Larkins, 15. Tamika Catching, 16. Marissa Coleman, 11. Catching, 16. Larkins, 15. And Zellos, 20. Brianne January, 8. Natasha Howard and Lashia Clarendon, 2. Karima Christmas, 10. Kaiser, Lucas, and Thomas held scoreless. Sydney Carter, DNP, coach's decision. And for the Fever tonight, Tamara Young and Elena Del Don, 9 points each. Big Sylvia Fowles, 27 points. Epiphany Prince, 4. Courtney Vandersloot had 18. Jessica Breland, 2. Allie Quigley off the bench had 16. Sasha Goodlit had 1 off the bench at the free throw line. Jamira Faulkner and Markeisha Gatlin, no points. Brandon and Clements held out coach's decision tonight. Chris, I think the Fever let this game get away, and I know that I said that the Sky would win Game 2 tonight, at least to keep the series alive, Chris. But, Chris, it's a broken record, and we're going to go back to a first pointer real quick, Chris, again, is about the Fever, again, that they've had leads in a lot of games this year, Chris, but just couldn't finish the job off. Now, Chris, if we go to one more question here in our Q&A bar, before we get to the Sparks here during the offseason, viewer asked, Chris, who wins Game 3 in each series and why? Now, folks, the game tomorrow, Game 3, will be the Minnesota Lynx and the Phoenix Mercury. Game time set for 7 o'clock tomorrow night. The game can be seen on NBA TV and on WNBA Live Access. Now, Chris, I don't quite know about how far we can go with seeing what's going to occur here with this Game 3 at this point in time that we have so far, Chris, seen a tale of two teams right now that, again, that we know that the Mercury, Chris, had a phenomenal run in the, during the regular season and basically, trucked LA in Game 2 in the series, had to kind of hold on for dear life in Game 1 to win that game in Phoenix. And then you look at it, Chris, that the Lynx have been sort of, battling for respect here, Chris, that they're the defending champions, yes, Chris, but they've been in the shadow of the Mercury all season because they've had, a 25-win season, injuries, and they have not been the same team, Chris. Now, I think, Chris, Game 3 favors the Mercury because it's on their home floor there in Phoenix. They've lost one game all season there, and they've played phenomenal basketball all season. Now, I think, Chris, it favors the Lynx because Phoenix looked a bit vulnerable in Game 2 that they can have a big lead, Chris, and squander it like we saw with the Fever tonight in this Game 2 between them and Chicago. So, Chris, I think it's still even right now. I may have to make my decision perhaps before the game tomorrow, Chris. But as we look ahead towards Game 3 between the Lynx and the Mercury tomorrow, what are your thoughts and expectations in your preview of Game 3 between the Lynx and Mercury, who will be representing the Western Conference in the WNBA Finals this season?
I think this would be a great game tomorrow night between the Mercury and the Lynx. Probably come down to the wire, down to the final buzzer. Probably going back and forth. Probably someone scoring a big lead and blow it. But I think since, like you said, the Lynx been in the shadow of the Mercury all season long, and I think the Lynx will move on and represent the West again.
Chris, I think it could favor Minnesota, Chris. I really do not know, man, because, it's tough enough that I have to pick between Maya Moore and Diana Taurasi in this series. Chris, right now at this point in time, I still think the game favors the Mercury because that home court advantage, Chris, is off the chart in the entire league. One of the best, the best dedicated and most loyal fan bases is down there at the Purple Palace in Phoenix. That's why I think that the Mercury might win, Chris. And I think that they'll probably, Chris, if they do play, if it's anything like Game 2, Chris, if they do blow it again, so be it because, you had your chance in Game 2 to sweep a series and you didn't do your job. I think, Chris, I don't think the Mercury win, though, I think, because of that home court advantage, Chris, because I think that even in Minnesota, Chris, even when the Lynx were down by a lot in Game 2, that the fan base was there, they were still making noise and stuff, trying to get their team back in the ball game. Where, Chris, unfortunately, like it was when you saw the Sparks losing in Game 2 at home, it was like you were at a funeral for your best friend, basically, where the crowd was very dead, very silent. You can hear a pin drop at Staples Center, Chris, because it was very depressing there, Chris. That's the only reason why, Chris, I think that the Mercury would win Game 3 here because, and I also think, Chris, because I think they win it, though, as well, because the Mercury have not had to play a Game 3 in the postseason this year or last season, except when they had to play the Sparks last year. But, I think, Chris, it would actually favor the Mercury because the Lynx have not had to play a Game 3 with their season on the line back-to-back time. So I think that's why it would favor the Mercury. But, Chris, I think it favors the Lynx, though, because, again, Chris, like I said last night, you cannot, count out the defending champions, Chris, of any sport you play. And I think, Chris, that they stay in there, I think, for the long haul at this point in time. Okay, Chris, as we move on now to some talk with the LA Sparks here, Chris, and not much occurring here except Chris, we were shown a video real quick. We were shown a video by Shorty Mama 24 on Twitter, courtesy of TMZ Sports, Chris, that had an interview between Shanae Agumake and her sister Nneka, Chris, which kind of brings me to a point about the off-season playing overseas debate here, Chris. That we had over here a few days ago, in regards that the Sparks, or that again, Chris, knowing that we're going to be covering the overseas seasons on Sparkling Overseas during the off season, that Chris, that there was a video from TMZ Sports with an interview with the sisters, Chris, saying that basically, Chris, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, has basically said, Chris, no more, nothing in relation to America will be open for business, or anything that is made in America, Chris, is not allowed in my country anymore, Chris. Now, Chris, we know there's a lot going on over in Russia as far as it goes with, the stretch of violence over there with the Ukraine, and a lot of political tension going on over in Russia, Chris. And I think that, Chris, as you look at the situation going on over there, and it's really heartbreaking and disturbing to see what's happening, Chris, over in that part of the world, Chris. But knowing, though, that this stuff is going on, Chris, with the entire political crisis going on, will this have an impact, though, on WNBA players, Chris, possibly playing overseas this year, knowing the threat of violence and, and probably, Chris, that unsafe feeling of being over in Russia during this point in time right now, where basically, Chris, every McDonald's across the country has been shut down. You can't bring in American products, no American music. So, Chris, it's kind of like, your thoughts here about a lot of political tension, Chris, interfering with sports right now.
I think probably affect players going overseas pretty much.
Chris, I even asked Candace Parker on Twitter. Of course, I did not get a reply back, but I asked her if she, when she was going back to Russia, Chris, and I know that normally I don't get replies back from her most times, Chris, but I think if I didn't get a reply back about that question, that might lead me that, okay, she may not be going to play overseas somewhere, Chris. So what I think is going to happen, Chris, is players may go away from Russia, perhaps, and find other clubs to play in, Chris, like somewhere in Europe, in Australia, in parts of, in parts over there, Chris. Frankly, I think, Chris, that with what's been occurring over in Russia, this may, Chris, be a talking point for a while here, Chris, with players, that with all the political unrest and tension, Chris, that it may not be the wisest choice nowadays, Chris, to go overseas now and play in Russia because of what's going on, Chris. And I think it's a bit strange, or not really strange, Chris, but it's a bit alarming, though, that you can't bring American food, American products. Every McDonald's across the country of Russia, Chris, has been closed down. No American music, Chris. So I believe, Chris, that this actually may start to lead players in the WNBA, Chris, the other way, where, okay, I don't want to, risk my life being over here, or at least risk my career playing over here because of my citizenship playing over here as an American player, Chris. Is that, Chris, do you think that this will play a bit of a role here in players saying, okay, I'm going to go somewhere else because for me as an American, I don't want to, be a pest or be a problem to the Russian government? What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think they'll probably go somewhere else.
Folks, take your take on this on Twitter. Let us know on Twitter. Do you think that with the political tension going on in Russia, will more American WNBA players go away from playing in Russia? Let us know on Twitter at LASparks365, at CallanMac3, or at LASparksFan30. Let us know. And use the hashtag international basketball, basically. International basketball will be the hashtag for that. Chris, we get to one last question here before we close out here, Chris, and go on over to make our debut on Blog Talk Radio. Chris, the viewer asked, in spite of a 16-18 season, what was the #1 highlight of the Sparks' 2014 season? Well, Chris, I think a lot of people would agree with us on this one. And Chris, there really wasn't a whole lot of highlights this year, to be honest, Chris, where last year we had, the miraculous 19-point comeback against the Tulsa Shock at home last season, Candace Parker winning MVP last season, where, Chris, there really wasn't a whole lot of things to really, cheer about and go crazy about this year, because it was a very, very down season this year, Chris. I think the only highlight, that really made the season, and it's not getting Parker's autograph on July 23rd, Chris. It's seeing Chrissy Tolliver, Chris, in a season marred by her, leaving for Russia during the season, Chris. It's her game-winning three-pointer versus Connecticut, I think, Chris, that takes home the Emmy Award, the Grammy, the Golden Globe, the all the Hollywood, awards you can get as a celebrity over there, Chris. KT's game-winning 3 against the Sun. Chris, completing a 5-point comeback in 30 seconds is the only highlight of the whole season for the Sparks season, Chris. There may be another one, but I don't think there is. Maybe when she gave LA the lead again against Atlanta back on August 8th, in overtime as well, Chris. But unfortunately, man, the only real highlight of the whole season is seeing Tolliver's game-winning 3 against the Sun. You could probably say Parker's 34-point game against the Fever in Indiana, or when NECA had her 35-point game against the Shock. But, Chris, I think the overall number one highlight, I think, is got to be KT's three-pointer. What is your highlight for the 2014 season, and why?
There's pretty much no highlights, just the one you said. Just KT's 3, beating Connecticut Sun, down by 5 points, like under 1 minute, and just unbelievable.
Chris, I don't think I've ever recalled seeing a basketball possession or a game, Chris, finish in that fashion where you would, okay, you're down by 4, basically. You're down 65-61 to Connecticut, or it's in that ballpark, Chris. It's like 69-64 or whatever, and you get the 3-point shot. It's short. And Parker, Chris, gets the biggest rebound of the whole game right there. Gets the putback for 2, Chris. And then on the ensuing possession, Chris, you get the steal you needed. Instead of fouling and sending it to the free throw line, Chris, you get the steal. Then the three-pointer, Chris, it's 5 points in 30 seconds, Chris. It's a wild finish that we may never, ever probably see again anytime soon in any form of basketball, Chris. Maybe if you're playing street ball with the N1 guys, you may see a possession like that, Chris. But never again will you see a 5-point comeback complete in 30 seconds at any level, Chris. And I'll tell you what, that is, I think, the only highlight of the season. But, folks, let us know, though. Did we miss a few highlights of the season? Let us know on Twitter, at LASparks365, at CallanMac3, or at LASparksFan30. Let us know. What is your highlight for the 2014 Sparks season? Let us know on Twitter with the hashtag #HighlightReel, and we'll get to your tweets later on in the program. Okay, Chris, as we head out of here for the night and get ready, Chris, to make our big debut on Blog Talk Radio, your final thoughts about Game 2 between the Fever and Sky tonight, Chris, and your thoughts and expectations for Game 3 between the Lynx and Mercury tomorrow, then, of course, Game 3 between the Fever and Sky on Wednesday. Your lasting thoughts about tonight's game and your thoughts going forward for tomorrow and Wednesday.
Just great game by Chicago Sky. Found by a lot, came back to force not 1, but 2 overtimes to win, to force a Game 3. And then I think it's going to be a great game between the Lynx and the Mercury coming down the wire. I think the Lynx will win, move on to the WNBA Finals again. And I think the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever is probably going to go back and forth. And I think Indiana probably have a big lead again, probably. They might blow it. And I think Chicago will win and move on to face the Lynx in the WNBA Finals.
So with that, folks, we will call it a night here on the video feed. But, folks, again, remember, Phase 3 begins tonight here, folks. Again, Blog Talk Radio, WNBA Talk is up next on BTR. Folks, we'll post a link to you, folks, for the listening and viewing page of the show coming up next. But, folks, until then, we'll see folks back here tomorrow on the video feed tomorrow. Have a safe remainder of your Labor Day holiday. Drive home safely. Thank you for coming, and good night now. This has been the LA Sparks 365 Network. We are Sparks. We are LA. We are the WNBA, folks. We'll see you, folks, on blogtalkradio.com coming up in about 15 minutes or so, folks, on BTR. See you folks tomorrow night. Bye-bye.